One of the most troubled countries in Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo government has begged civilian residents in the country to flood streets today, Monday the 27th of January 2025, just as M23 rebels are now in control of Goma, after killing the Congolese military commander, overnight South Africa soldiers, a total of 12 UN peacekeepers, forcing other Congolese soldiers to surrender their weapons before the 3 a.m. Monday 27, 2025 deadline set. Few hours ago, local media reported with photographs wherein men of the armed forces of Democratic Republic of Congo were seen handing over their weapons to UN peacekeepers in Goma city before the 3 a.m. deadline set by the M23 rebels, who have issued evacuation order for all Congolese military and foreign soldiers to leave the Goma city as the closed Goma airspace. Congolese Minister of Justice Constant Mutamba, in response to the M23 rebels' advancing postures, issued statements via his ex-social media handle, calling and begging civilian residents in the Democratic Republic of Congo to take to the streets in Kinshasa, the Congo capital, today Monday the 27th of January 2025 to take charge to free the country from M23 rebels. I call for a popular march against Rwandan aggression this Monday, January 27, 2025 in Kinshasa, starting at 9 a.m. Let us take charge to free our lands from the hands of the invader. Homeland or death, we will win. Alongside President Tshisekedi, we will fight until the supreme sacrifice to defend our dear homeland, the land of our ancestors. I invite the population to take to the streets to denounce this Rwandan aggression imposed on us by the forces of evil. Homeland or death, we will win, the Congolese Minister of Justice, Constant Mutamba, stated. On Sunday, thousands of civilians had fled the town of Goma in the North Kivu region in order to survive using any possible means, as M23 militias advanced swiftly, posing a serious threat to the town. The South African National Defence Force, SANDF, in a media statement on Saturday had claimed that his men and his counterparts have pushed back the M23 rebels advancing towards Goma in the Eastern Republic of Congo, but on Sunday, the South African military formation announced the killing of 9 of his men by the M23 rebels in Goma. In a media statement, the South African military formation said, Parliament, Sunday the 26th of January 2025, the Joint Standing Committee on Defense has learnt with sadness the death of 9 members of the South African National Defence Force, SANDF, in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, after the intense confrontation with M23 rebel group in that country. The soldiers form part of the Southern African Development Community Mission in the DRC and the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. While the committee acknowledges the gallant resistance by our forces, the loss of 9 members of the SANDF is serious and requires investigation to prevent recurrence. Some of the issues that must be looked into include the combat preparedness, defense intelligence capabilities, and specifically the availability of combat support equipment including air support and ammunition, said Mr. Malusi Gigaba, the company chairperson of the committee. The Joint Standing Committee on Defense of the 6th Parliament raised concern regarding serviceability of prime mission equipment and readiness of the mission for deployment. The capacitation of our soldiers is a primary obligation that the SANDF must ensure. This is one area of oversight the committee aims to enhance in the 7th Parliament to ensure that the SANDF has adequate equipment to respond to any eventuality. Due to the seriousness of the matter, the committee will urgently schedule a meeting to get a full briefing on the incident as well as the overall status of the deployment. It is important that we get a full briefing from the Minister, the Acting Secretary of Defense, and the Chief of the SANDF, not only on the incident but also on the status of the mission and the availability of adequate equipment for SANDF members deployed in DRC and in any mission, said Mr. Firun Fala, the company chairperson of the committee. The co-chairpersons extended the committee's heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families of members who lost their lives and wished soldiers who were injured a speedy recovery. Furthermore, the chairpersons assured the families that the committee will use its interaction with the department to find answers to understand what occurred and to use its ongoing efforts to strengthen the capacity of the SANDF. M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, on Monday morning said they have taken over Goma, according to a news report by a Sky News reporter in Goma City some hours ago. According to local media, the escalating and advancing combat staged early this year by M23 rebels has been a major conflict to have erupted in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, marking one of the deadliest attacks on peacekeepers in recent years. As at on Sunday, at least 12 peacekeepers, including 9 South African and 3 Malawian soldiers, were killed during clashes with M23 rebels. The rebels, primarily of Tutsi ethnicity, have encircled Goma, a key city with 2 million residents and a vital humanitarian hub, attacking from several fronts, killing Congolese and the foreign soldiers before the city finally fell to their control on Monday after other coalition forces surrendered their arms as demanded by the rebel group. Meanwhile, the Rwandan government has expressed concerns about statements issued by various parties on the security crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where the M23 rebels have intensified their offensive attacks since early January. Misguided or manipulative statements do not provide any solutions, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs warned in a statement issued on Sunday, January 26, 2025. The ongoing conflict in Eastern DRC, particularly the recent heavy fighting around Goma, was triggered by constant violations of the ceasefire by the Congolese Armed Forces, FARDC, in coalition with UN-sanctioned genocidal militia FDLR, European mercenaries, ethnic militias Wazalendo, Burundian Armed Forces, SAMIDRC forces as well as MONUSCO troops. The Rwanda Foreign Ministry noted that the United Nations had confirmed in their reports that the late Major General Peter Sirimwami, the military governor of North Kivu who was killed during fighting around Sek, served as liaison with the FDLR and was responsible for sabotaging planned operations by the FARDC to neutralize the leaders of the FDLR. This fighting close to the Rwandan border continues to present a serious threat to Rwanda's security and territorial integrity, and necessitates Rwanda's sustained defensive posture, the ministry said. We had earlier in the month reported that M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo early this year advanced and seized the town of Masisi. Same period, the Congolese government sent 172 death row prisoners to executioners, with 102 already confirmed executed, while the government kept mum on the third batch of 70 prisoners, including the May 19, 2024 37 coup plotters who were convicted and sentenced to death in September 2024, just as the country Minister of Justice, Constant Mutamba, threatened journalists with death penalty if they relayed the activities of armed group he described as Rwanda Army and its M23 auxiliaries. On Sunday, Al Jazeera reported that the M23 rebels and the Congolese army are still in heavy gun battle in Masisi since the rebel group took control of the town more than a week ago. Al Jazeera report on Sunday contradicted the statement issued 3 days ago by the Congolese Minister of Justice, Constant Mutamba, that the Congolese army and the pro-government rebels have recaptured the town of Masisi from the M23 rebels. On his X social media handle 3 days ago, the Congo Justice Minister, Constant Mutamba, tweeted in a French language as translated by Google to state that, "Bravo to our Armed Forces of Democratic Republic of Congo, FARDC and rebel group fighting together with Congo military against M23, Wazalendo for the recapture of Masisi. The enemy is in disarray. Any political actor, civil society, journalist, religious, who relays the activities of the Rwandan army and its M23 auxiliaries, will now suffer the full force of the law, death penalty. Our territorial integrity is not up for sale." It would be recalled that 37 alleged coup plotters, including 3 Americans, were convicted and sentenced to death in September 2024 by a Kinshasa military court in a trial against the failed coup of May 19, 2024 in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. 51 people were tried by the military court in Kinshasa, the capital of DRC, with the hearings broadcast on national television. The 3 Americans sentenced to death were convicted for the offenses of criminal association, attack and terrorism, including Marcel Malanga, son of Christian Malanga, the alleged leader of the attempted coup. DRC Army stated that an attempted coup, led by little-known opponent Christian Malanga, was nipped in the bud early May 19, 2024. 6 people, including Christian Malanga himself, were killed. The putschers attacked the residence of Vital Kamerhe, then Deputy Prime Minister, before intruding the Palais de la Nation, where the offices of DRC President Felix Tshisekedi are located. Videos posted online showed the attackers, dressed in military uniforms and displaying the Zaire flag, claimed in the video that they wanted to change things in the management of the republic. Zaire, officially the Republic of Zaire, was the name of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC from 1971 to 1997. Christian Malanga formed the United Congolese Party in 2010 and advocated for the return of Zaire. In 2017, he created a government in exile in Brussels, Belgium, giving birth to the so-called New Zaire. Marcel Malanga, who was born in Utah, United States, and 2 other Americans, stood trial and they were sentenced to death. M23 rebels, armed group, the government of Democratic Republic of Congo claimed is allegedly supported by Rwanda, have taken control of Masisi, a key town in eastern Congo, exacerbating the region's ongoing humanitarian crisis. The town is estimated to be home to around 40,000 people and it is agricultural and mineral-rich area located in North Kivu province. Local observers said that the capture follows the breakdown of Angola-mediated peace talks between Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwandan President Paul Kagame in December 2024. While the M23 rebels fighting has built more tension, the Congolese government says it has executed 102 men in the past week, with plans to execute 70 more. Constant Mutamba, the country's Minister of Justice, stated in a statement that 45 were killed in late December 2024 with 57 executed in early January 2025. He said the men, aged 18 to 35, were armed robbers and urban bandits, known locally as Kulunas. Mutamba added that the executions took place at Enjenga prison in northwest Congo. A video posted online showed a flight of 70 more people arrived at Enjenga, but the government is yet to comment on the status of the prisoners. Mutamba, who is overseeing the executions, said the 3rd batch will be executed, so the first 2 have already undergone the measure of execution by the death penalty. While some have welcomed the government's decision to execute the prisoners as a means of restoring order and security in the cities, others are concerned about the risks of abuse and human rights violations. It may be remembered that Congo abolished the death penalty in 1981, but it was reinstated in 2006. The last execution took place in 2003. In March 2024, the Congolese government announced the resumption of capital executions. The reinstated death penalty was intended for military personnel accused of treason, according to close watchers. Amnesty International, while condemning the execution of the prisoners, issued a press statement and stated that President Tshisekedi must halt plans to carry out mass executions. Responding to reports that more than 170 people under sentence of death have been transferred to Enjenga prison for execution in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, Amnesty International's Deputy Regional Director for East and Southern Africa, Sarah Jackson, said. The announcement of these prison transfers is absolutely appalling. We fear imminent mass executions by the authorities amid a lack of reliable information about the status of people sentenced to death. President Felix Tshisekedi must immediately, publicly and unambiguously halt any plans to execute people in Njenga prison or elsewhere. Parliament should adopt a moratorium on executions, pending full abolition of the death penalty. We fear imminent mass executions by the authorities amid a lack of reliable information about the status of people sentenced to death. Authorities must also stop mass transfers to remote prisons, including Njenga, where dozens of detainees have previously died of starvation and disease. Any person transferred from their local area must be moved to a facility that can be easily reached by lawyers, relatives and human rights organizations, and all should be informed of their whereabouts. Amnesty International added that, on the 5th of January 2025, DRC's Justice Minister, Constant Mutamba, announced that more than 170 people, allegedly linked to criminal gangs commonly known as Kulana or bandits, had been transferred from the capital Kinshasa to Njenga prison in northwest DRC for execution. He said those transferred to Njenga were between 18 and 35 years old and had been involved in urban violence. Authorities have claimed resuming executions would help combat urban gangs, a claim unsupported by any evidence. President Felix Tshisekedi must immediately, publicly and unambiguously halt any plans to execute people in Njenga prison or elsewhere. Mutamba has previously threatened people suspected of links to criminal gangs with arrest, conviction and the death penalty, even before trial. In March 2024, DRC's government announced it would resume executions following a 2-decade hiatus. Since then, death sentences by military courts have soared. These sentences often follow unfair trials, including against alleged members of criminal gangs and armed groups. Amnesty International opposes the death penalty in all cases. Justice Minister Constant Mutamba also during the week tweeted and stated in on X social media handle that, "I have not given an interview to any media, much less to the AP, on the operations to combat urban banditry, that the Ministry of the Interior and the Ministry of Justice are conducting across the country." The AP dispatch revealed false information. I invite them to correct it in accordance with the law on freedom of the press. Congolese laws provide for the death penalty and the mechanisms for its execution. The Kuluna urban bandits tried and sentenced to death by our courts were transferred to high-security prisons, far from their place of arrest, to serve their sentence in accordance with Congolese laws. This phenomenon of urban gangs led to the overthrow of the Haitian regime, probably due to the absence of consistent measures of repression and dissuasion. We will show firmness against the Kuluna, who will be arrested and brought before the courts, because they sow death and desolation in society. VOA quoting AP also reported that the Democratic Republic of Congo on Thursday banned Al Jazeera satellite news network over its interview with the leader of a violent rebel group that has seized territory in the country's east in recent days. Separately, DRC's Justice Minister threatened journalists and others who report on the M23 rebels with the death penalty, though there is no law officially banning media from covering rebel groups. There was no immediate comment from Al Jazeera, a pan-Arab satellite television news network based in Doha, Qatar. According to DRC government spokesperson Patrick Muyaya, authorities revoked press credentials of Qatar's broadcaster in DRC, saying the network had interviewed the head of a terror organization without proper accreditation. Al Jazeera on Wednesday aired an interview with Bertrand Bisimwa, the head of the M23 rebel movement in the eastern DRC. In the interview, Bisimwa blamed the government in the capital, Kinshasa, for violating an August ceasefire and claimed that M23 is waging an existential war. M23 is the most prominent of more than 100 armed groups active in the mineral-rich area near the DRC border with Rwanda, where more than 1 million people were displaced by fighting last year. A decade ago, the group seized the border city of Goma, and in late 2021 captured broad swaths of territory in eastern DRC. Al Jazeera's interview with Bisimwa was tantamount to an apology for terrorism and totally unacceptable, Muyaya told a news conference, urging journalists not to give the floor to terrorists. Hours earlier, DRC's Justice Minister Constant Mutamba said on the social media platform X that anyone who reports on the activities of the Rwandan army and its M23 auxiliaries will now suffer the full force of the law, death penalty. The Great Lake media also analyzed the significance of the M23 control of Masisi and its consequences to the Congolese army as reported verbatim below. The first weekend of 2025 saw M23 seize 2 more towns in North Kivu province. Masisi Center and Losheberi were taken by the rebels after heavy clashes with the Congolese army coalition. Analysts say that one of the towns means a lot in the escalating armed conflict. Populated with about 40,000 residents, Masisi Center is the capital of Masisi Territory. It is about 80 kilometers north of Goma, the capital of North Kivu. Given its geographical location, Masisi Center has been a supply area for the Congolese Army Coalition. Their logistics, foodstuffs, and ammunition were sent there before they were distributed to different bases. By capturing Masisi Center, M23 rebels have cut off supplies to the vast Congolese army coalitional forces. They are likely to withdraw as they can't stay in their positions while supplies cannot reach them, said a security analyst and journalist based in Goma. Security analysts predict that the rebels are likely to move forward to Walikale, an area that has been stronghold of the FDLR genocidal militia which Kinshasa treats as a reliable fighting force against M23. Despite support from the Burundian army, SADC troops, Eastern European mercenaries, American private military companies, and FDLR, the Congolese army failed to push back M23 since its resurgence in late 2021.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.